Shortly before Gamescom kicked off, I had the opportunity to talk to Robby Bisschop. He is the founder of Pirate PR, a PR and marketing agency that's focused solely on indie devs. We talked about why Gamescom and conventions like it are actually relevant for small development teams and why you might be interested in attending. Enjoy! In 6 days now, I think, at the time of recording, Gamescom will kick off once again. It's a big event. It's the biggest in Europe.
I would argue the biggest in the world too.
Yeah. So it's something where a lot of people will be attending as well as looking at internationally. And I was really wondering for game developers, especially smaller teams or solo devs, how important is an event like this for them?
It's important because a lot of things happen around Gamescom as well, and it's usually it's an internal deadline. Like a lot of people work towards Gamescom to have their demo ready, not just for the people at the event physically, but also just to put it online on Steam and have the demo publicly available at the same time a little bit later. Doesn't really matter, but it gives them a concrete deadline of this is when we have to get things ready, and that helps already because people perform better under deadlines. And then the next thing is they start preparing their trailer for it. They start submitting it to events around Gamescom because it's not just Gamescom. You have Open Night Live by Gamescom itself. You have IGN at Gamescom doing stuff at Gamescom. You have Future Game Show by Games Radar who does a Gamescom event. A little bit after Gamescom, you have The Mix this year doing something. It's more in line with PAX West, but still it's around the same time. So people keep that same deadline of I have to get my stuff ready by Gamescom. So it's basically just right now a moment where people prepare their assets, they prepare their trailers, they make sure their game is playable by an audience, and depending or not if they're attending physically with a booth there, they'll get a lot of feedback, and after this there will be a round of feedback, fixes to the game based on finally seeing a lot of people play it hands-on without just putting a demo up online and asking people about, hey, what do you like? It's really valuable that you can see them play and you can see where they struggle. Like a good example I always give is if you have a 3D open world adventure or something, and you start off in a pool with a waterfall behind you, and every single player just turns around and goes look behind that waterfall, and each of them is disappointed that there's no treasure there. Maybe put a treasure there, or you start picking up these things that they might forget telling you if you have a feedback form or if you just have an online demo and saying, hey, what did you think? And people will go like, yeah, I liked it. But you can build on that versus seeing them play, interacting with them while they are playing. It's valuable. From a marketing perspective, I'm not sold on the entire idea of making a return on investment there because it's really expensive to go to an event like Gamescom. And even if every single person that visits your booth wishlists and then buys the game, you're probably not even going to make a return just because it takes about 15 minutes for a person usually to play through a demo. So you can pretty much just calculate on how many devices you're bringing there and how much time the event is open, how many people maximum are actually going to play your game, and that doesn't usually turn into a return on investment there. Though, side note, press is there, creators are there. If they play for 15 minutes, that's going to have a return on your investment down the line where they're interested in your game when it comes out. And they had the first taste of it during Gamescom, and then they will cover the full game when it releases. So that's the big win there.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because from a marketing perspective, you want to stand out, and I think it's one of the hardest places to stand out because there's just so many games and a lot of big budget games as well that you have to compete against.
Yeah, and if you're taking place like a solo indie dev or small studio and you're in an indie game arena, if you've never been there, basically everybody gets one arcade cabinet. That's the size of your booth, and they're just one next to the other. You do get a little bit of art above your game booth, so if you have a good striking visual key art, that's really important because people are basically window shopping as they're walking by. Also, one of my advices I usually give if you have a bigger booth or if you have the means to do it is try to get their attention besides just that one screen where somebody is playing on, but maybe bring a second screen that shows a trailer, bring a banner that stops them in their path, like think about the process of people walking through and how you can stop them to play your game. For some people, it's even something simple as bringing merch and then giving them something like a sticker or something if they play. But But yeah, that's important how you're going to stop them there. And then what the bigger studios are doing is they usually have some kind of presence on the show floor where everybody can visit. They also have presence in the B2B area where only other game industry professionals are walking around. So not just publishers, developers, but also press, content creators, everybody with a press pass. They can access those limited areas. And then they usually pre-seed meetings in advance. So again, a press release will go out. And alongside that press release, there will be are you going to Gamescom? If so, here are some available slots. Do you want to come talk to the developer? Do you want to get an exclusive version of the demo that is not visible on the show floor to everybody? And then you have to find some kind of way to lure them in and to convince them to visit your booth and write about your game in advance.
So when would you say it's relevant for a developer to attend an event like this? Because the things you're saying now is you already have achieved some stuff, you've reached some milestones. At what point are you ready to get out there and go meet other people?
I'm gonna have answered this a lot, but it depends again. Like, what are you looking for? If you're looking for a publisher, then there's two ways about it. You either get a B2B pass and you just visit the publishers at their own booth. They'll usually have one, or you meet them at like a central area. Or the other way around, you have your own booth as a developer where people can come play the game, also some press and creators. But you also still set up some meetings with publishers to come over to your booth, play the game, talk to them, see what their deal is or what they're offering, and then you can talk with them. But usually this is a multi-year process. Like, just looking at the Belgian games, I see them going to that B2B area for 1 or 2 years. And in the first year, they're pitching to publishers, and in the second year, they're still pitching to publishers. So I don't know what kind of returns you can expect there or how easy it is to strike a deal these days. I'm assuming it's very difficult because, again, everybody is more risk averse these days and they want to see a more finished project. And you'll always get the feedback like, ooh, this looks interesting, but I want to see it closer to being finished. And at that point, it's like, what's their value still going to be? But that's a totally different story altogether. And then there's the second aspect of, I'm working on my game, but I want player feedback. I think this is actually the major one. When I was doing 1UP in Belgium, it was also the major pitch I was telling people, like, this is your first chance for a cheap amount of money to just have a booth. Players will come play your game, and you can watch them play live, and you get feedback on it. Some of them will convert into sales and wishlists as well, but your major goal should be watching them play, writing down feedback, and making your game better for the people who follow afterwards. And then the third time is when your game is actually available. If your game is out, people can buy it. This is when you would respect the least amount of returns from an event like this, unless you have big partnerships, like your game is present at Open Night Live, or because you're at Gamescom, you're taking part in a big Steam sale or something. Like, just being physically present at Gamescom is never going to return your investment on what the booth costs, which is often several thousands of euros if you're paying for your own booth. A little bit less if you're taking part in something like the indie game arena, or if you're lucky enough to be part of your own country delegation or something. But still, it's not negligible because you have travel, you have stay. It's really expensive. Like, just my own hotel there for a week was already 1,600 euro during that week. So yeah, it's very expensive. But the main goal at that point is to be not just at Gamescom, but also be part of all of the other events surrounding Gamescom. Like the night before Gamescom, there is Courage Cologne. That's already a good event to be part in. I think that one is free to participate in. And then just being present there, showing your games to press and media is valuable. Maybe talking to a publisher, maybe talking to other investors. I've seen a lot of games with a plan of, we're only bringing this to PC, for example, talking to porting companies or publishers at such event, and then learning, oh, it's much cheaper than I thought it was to bring my game to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. Why shouldn't I travel this road? And then they do that. And then, yeah, the other thing, the fourth element actually is just networking. I would give the advice, and this is something that rings true to a lot of Belgian developers, I think, is not just talk to the local Belgian community there, because that's a mistake. It's a mistake I see them make all the time. Where I'm going, I was in San Francisco. I went to the park, and I just see all of the Belgian developers in a circle on the grass, going like, "That's very nice and cozy, but mingle. You're in the United States. You don't come here often. You should be talking to US people, basically. Like, don't just network with your own people, but take the opportunity to make contacts, because that's usually opens a lot of more doors.
Yeah. I do sense like a central theme is make sure that you know what you want to achieve at this event. Like have a clear idea, have a plan. I want to meet investors, I want to meet players, I want to sell the game. Just have something in mind and make sure that the whole planning that you have there is structured around that.
True. Yeah. That's even for me, because the first year I went to Gamescom as pirate. Well, the first years I went, it was for 1UP. And then I had a clear goal, which was basically I need to find exhibitors for my own event I'm doing.
Right.
What better place to do that than at another place where they're already exhibiting, and in 6 months' time we'll have our own event. And then, because I know it's in Kortrijk, I know I don't have to ask someone from the United States or from Japan, like, hey, do you want to come to this smaller Belgium event? Like, that's a pitch that's hard to be doing. But UK, the Netherlands, France, the north of France especially, Germany, I convinced some people to come over. And then was also doing some journalism things on the sites, writing about games. And then as soon as it became for Pirate PR, my first year was finding clients. And then the second year, I already had enough clients. So it was basically just network and learn. And then the most valuable thing I did last year at Gamescom was talking to Steam and learning, hey, the Belgian Game Awards are something I'm helping with every single year. I want to set up the first Steam sale page event for it. How do I go about that? And I got advice from them, and not just advice, but also a promise that they would feature me on the homepage of Steam in Belgium for 2 days. Like, that was huge. And that wouldn't have happened if I was just emailing them and sending the messages. It was because I met the people face to face and explained them the importance of the local ecosystem, of that thing to the local ecosystem. And then this year it's mostly networking again, because my work is fully booked until the first quarter of 2026. It's not like I need to find clients there, but I always do. Like, and then it usually ends up being my most interesting projects of the year. Like last year, it was Ruffy and the Riverside, and Off, a Belgian game that's coming out really soon right now. I didn't even know it was Belgian. And then Fangamer is making it. I talked to the people at Fangamer and now doing the PR for it. And those are my 2 biggest titles that I'm working on this year. And both weren't on the schedule, so.
Yeah. You mentioned the Belgian delegation, or like the country's delegations. It's nice to have like a group of developers from the same country, or like indie devs that get bunched together. What are the benefits of doing it this way, of attending an event this way?
Saving money, because the booth from the Belgian Games delegation is giant. Like, it's a really big one. There's a lot of games there, not just from Flanders, but from Wallonie, Brussels. Like, the entire Belgian games industry is there, each via their own organization. Currently, it's organized by FIT, I think, Flanders Investment and Trade. So even though it's by Flanders, but the booth is still a joint thing with also the Wallimage organizations. And it's just, you get a bigger spot in such a location at a more expensive spot, because the B2B place is also pretty expensive. And they're paying for this giant booth, and then you can just pay for your cubicle in it. And also some other advantages, like they have a meeting zone, they'll have extra place to drop your backpack, to sit, to get a drink. Like, don't underestimate, these things are very, very valuable in a day when you're just constantly talking, you're just having other people around that you can trust, or dropping your backpack somewhere for a safe moment, or having meetings at a location that you can pre-arrange. That all has value. And it's all much cheaper if someone else organizes this for you and just pay your participation fee versus setting that up yourself. Like, one of the mistakes Kronos made when we were trying to start the first Belgian publisher thing was that the very first year we participated, we immediately went to the consumer area, and we had a booth for Hoverloop and we had a booth for Journey for Elysium, and they were both wildly expensive, like 4,000, 5,000 euro per booth. And then you had to pay all of the people attending that booth and the travel and their stay. There's so little of a chance that you're getting your investment back on that. And it was much smarter that you just be part of the B2B area first, and then when you're showing it to the community, just take a smaller slot at a like indie game arena booth or something.
Yeah.
Or some countries as well. Poland, the Greek delegation, they also have their bigger booths in the consumer area in the indie halls.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I remember. I think it's even one hall that has like a lot of countries bunched together, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah, in Hall 5 or something, yeah, there's a lot of country there, but it's not as visited. Like, you have the main halls where the AAA games are, those see the most amount of people. Then you have like Hall 10.1 if I'm not, and 10.2 if I'm not mistaken, which is like the indie game arena where most of the indies are, and there are lots of giveaways and throwing stuff into the audience. And then those country booths, I'm not sure if I would take one there because they're a little bit hidden away, and you can actually tell the second you enter those hallways that there's less traffic there. Like, there's not enough people finding them, coming by them, but still cheaper than getting your own booth.